guys, today we're here to chat all about my favorite drugstore single eyeshadows that I think make incredible highlighters. Not only are these going to be more affordable than your average highlighter, especially in comparison to high-end, but they're a little more accessible, and in addition to that, they just make great highlighters. It's not like, oh, for an eyeshadow this makes a great highlighter. It's just a fabulous highlighter. They're also easier to travel with. A lot of the time we're never actually going to run through a highlighter, so they're a little bit smaller in size, but I mean, I haven't really worked out the price, like, you know, the gram per dollar, but in general, most of these are like $5-6, and they're just really great products. So that is what we're chatting about today. There are a couple high-end ones, and there's some in eyeshadow palettes and stuff that I like too, but I wanted to stick to these ones that I find myself reaching for all the time. And if you're curious about this makeup look, I will link a tutorial down below, and as always, everything I'm wearing on my face will be listed in the description box as well. But let's go ahead and get started. I can't say for sure the eyeshadow that kind of put me on this quest to find single eyeshadows that make great highlighters, but I think this was the one, and this is probably the most popular one, not surprising anybody here, but this is the Kiko Milano Water Eyeshadow in 208. I have it in some other shades as well, and I'm not gonna lie, a lot of these are kind of the same shade, but I just want to get you thinking about that in case you haven't before considered using an eyeshadow, because sometimes eyeshadows can be too metallic, too glittery, and none of these are those things, because that's not what I look for in a highlighter. Looking for lots of glow, but nothing that's going to be too much on the face that looks like a stripe of eyeshadow. So anyways, this is such a good one. Unfortunately, on the accessible portion, not as accessible to Canadians. I actually had a friend who was like in Italy, and she messaged me, she's like, I'm in Italy, and I was like, cool, go to Kiko for me, will you? Pick this up. And I actually went to Kiko when I was in Amsterdam last year. I'll link that haul down below. Picked up some more shades. This one is definitely my favorite. Incredible texture. I never reach for single eyeshadows as eyeshadows, but I always reach for this as a highlighter. As you can see, it is very well used, super booming, probably the most impactful highlighter that I'm going to be mentioning today, but just such an incredible, gorgeous formula. This comes in tons of different shades too if you did want to use it as an eyeshadow, but like I said, I never reach for single eyeshadows. This one is probably my favorite. Unfortunately, like I said, Kiko is hard to get your hands on in Canada. I have messaged them and tried to talk to them and tried to tell them that we want them here in Canada. If you ever do go overseas or have access to it, I think there's actually a Kiko store in New York City. They're starting to pop up, which is exciting, but definitely this should be the first thing you put in your cart. I actually reached for the wrong thing. Hold on. So this is actually what I reached for by accident, which is the e.l.f. Apricot Glow Highlighter. That's a real highlighter. This, now that I remember, actually is the first eyeshadow that I ever used as a highlighter. I think Ray from It's My Ray Ray, I think that's the name of her channel. I think she was the one who got me onto this 100 years ago. Oh, the name isn't even on it. I think it's Enchanting Gold. This is an e.l.f. baked eyeshadow. Sometimes when you pick these up, they can be a little stiff on the top, so if you want to take a spoolie and run it over the top just to get it going, the formula has gotten better over the years, but this is another gorgeous one. It has like a little bit of a peachiness to it, while the Kiko is a little more of a straight up gold. There's a bunch of different shades in this baked eyeshadow line. I'm not totally sure which other ones would make great highlighters, and that's another thing I guess I should say is just because this one makes a great highlighter doesn't mean the whole line will, because sometimes in these lines of singles, some can be glitter, some can be matte, some are more satin, so it kind of depends, but this is such a gorgeous one. $3, so if you're ever on the e.l.f. website, or they may have it in some stores, definitely recommend giving this one a try. It's the first one that I ever used, and I still use it. I mean, it's still in my makeup drawer there. I have been using the baked apricot one too. I mean, a powder is a powder for the most part, whether you're putting it all over your face, on your cheekbones, on your eyelids, so the baked apricot one is a good one too. But if for some reason you were on the hunt for an eyeshadow that makes a great highlighter, I love this one from e.l.f. Something a little more easily accessible for my Canadian friends is from Rimmel. This one is so good too. I used this in a video. I'll have any videos linked down below where I've used these. This is one of their Magnifies Mono Eyeshadows in Gold Record. I find this very comparable to Champagne Pop. A lot of these are very similar. They're gold, they're pretty warm, but that's kind of what I look for in a highlighter. Rimmel is one of the most affordable drugstore brands out there, and this is gorgeous. I did a video with Rimmel like 2 years back back now, and I think I put Champagne Pop on one cheek and this on the other cheek, and they both looked incredible. If anything, this is a little bit brighter. It kind of depends what you're looking for, but so good. And when you're looking for these, a lot of the time single eyeshadows, especially at the drugstore, are like on the bottom row and they kind of like show up in random places. But don't forget, you can shop online for both Shoppers Drug Mart and Walmart.ca, which may be a little bit of an easier way to get it, or London Drugs also ships online. Sometimes it's just easier to go that route in Canada because you end up going to like a bunch of stores, which is never my favorite, but I absolutely love this one, and I will link to it down below so you can actually see it in action. Another gold single eyeshadow. Sometimes, and I've said this before, I'm hesitant to do these videos because all of my favorites are all like similar tones, but I want to give you different options because, you know, if you live in Europe, of course Kiko is going to be more available. If you're here in Canada, it might be Rimmel. You might want to do a cruelty-free, etc., etc. So they all are different, you know what I mean? I like to give options. So this is the Maybelline eyeshadow. Oh no, what is the name of this? I will have the name listed down below. This one I actually couldn't find in Canada, and I don't, that's not to say it's not available in Canada, because it is, but for whatever reason the stores near me didn't have it, and when I was in the States they happened to have it. And these single eyeshadows, they're good. Like I like Maybelline's eyeshadows. They've gotten better over the years for sure, but this one makes just the most incredible highlighter. And I don't all love these. Like these are gold, but they're not generally the type of gold that I'll put on my lid because they're a little bit light in comparison, because the type of gold that I like on my lid is something that's going to be a little more deep and like a true yellowy gold, which is not really what I want on my cheeks. So this gives just enough reflection in there. Super, super bright on the cheeks, no glitter, no chunks or anything like that in there. And again, this is probably about a $5 or $6 price tag. So I will of course link to everything I can find online down below. Now this one is probably the least affordable of the bunch, and depending on who you ask, it may or may not be a drugstore, but it is from Liz Wattier, so available at just about any Canadian drugstore. So I thought I would throw it in. This is one of their Ombre Souffle Supreme eyeshadows in the shade Barely Gold. I got this around Christmas time, and it's a souffle eyeshadow, so it kind of has this light, airy texture, but I wouldn't totally consider it a cream because I feel like I would totally be comfortable to put this over a powder, but you could use it directly on top of foundation. This maybe gives one of the more natural glows of the bunch because it isn't a powder, but I think it can look so gorgeous and still so impactful and natural, but just give this really kind of like lit from within, I drink my water type of glow, but it's not so natural that you're not going to notice it. Like it still has a good bit of impact in there, and the formula is just really, really easy to work with. You could use fingers, you could use a brush, and like I said, you can put it directly on top of foundation if that's the way you want to go, or you could put it over powder. In addition to that, if you do have an oilier skin type, I always love to recommend cream products because some of them, or they can seem a little bit intimidating at times, but they can really help to kind of increase the longevity of products. So if you have this on your cheeks and then you kind of layer it up with a more powder highlight, then that will increase the longevity of it staying on your cheeks. So you can kind of double it up, use it on its own. It's very, very versatile, and the texture is just really nice and easy to work with. I want to give an honorable mention to these three singles here. These are, so the first that I mentioned, like the first four powder that I mentioned, are ones that I use all the time. The Liz Wattier is a little newer to me, and then these three I don't really use that often, but I do feel like depending on your skin tone and again the availability, these are also great options for you to try. So I just never really found like a shade that I truly fell in love with from these lines, but I still thought they made great highlighters. So this one may be a little bit of a long shot. This is from Catrice, so definitely available in the United States and to Canadians as well now, but Canada doesn't have as big of a line here at Shoppers. But this is one of their Pret a Lumiere long-lasting shadows, and Nems actually picked this up for me in Serbia. Let me just peel back the Serbian lettering here. But this is probably a little bit less gold, more champagne. This is in the shade Pret a Pearl, but again, it has that kind of formula that I'm looking for, that's glowy, not glittery. And if you're looking for something that's a little less gold than the others that I mentioned today and something more champagne-y and a little more neutral, I think this is a good one, but again, not totally sure on availability. Then from Essence, the Metals, I know a lot of people I've seen mention the Granny Goes Glammy shade. That one is a little too icy for my skin tone, but if you are more fair, definitely take a look at that one. This one really reminds me of the e.l.f. formula. This one is in Ballerina Glam, which has a little more depth in it, which I was hoping to be a sufficient version for the Granny Goes Glammy for my skin tone. It's still not my favorite, and they have since released new shades of their highlighter, one that's a little more gold that I picked up recently, so that one would be more for me. And if you've tried their highlighters before, similar texture to these, they can look quite natural on the skin. I find the eyeshadows are a little more metallic than the highlighters, but again, this is a little more of kind of like a lighter True Champagne if you were looking for that kind of shade. And then I also picked this one up from Makeup Revolution. Oh, I just remembered two more from Makeup Geek. Okay, I've got to get those. Wow, I have more than I thought. The Makeup Revolution, a single eyeshadow in the shade Base. So I picked this up in the hopes that it would be a good highlighter, and I do really like this. This is probably the least metallic of the bunch. It's more of a satin finish. It is a little bit light for me to really go to town with it, but if you like, I guess it has more sheen in it than like a Laura Mercier French Vanilla. I won't make that comparison totally. It's a little bit more intense than that, but if you have a more fair skin tone, if you have textured skin, or if you're looking for something that is a little more natural, less gold and bam in your face, this is a good one. I got this, I think, from the Tan Beauty / Makeup Revolution website, which ships to Canada. I've had no issue shipping from them, but let me just reach behind me and grab that palette. I can't show you because I've got no pants on, but hold on. I did a face palette declutter a little while back, and this is another reason why I love doing declutters, is because I rediscover products. So I have these two singles here from Makeup Geek. This is the Voltage eyeshadow, and this is I'm Peachless. I picked up this Voltage one because although it looks like it shifts a little green, which like it kind of does, but like not in a bad way, it really reminded me of, I think it was the first launch from Pat McGrath that had that like greeny goldy but still somehow looks super cool highlighty look. So I picked this up, and I can't say that it's a complete dupe, but really looked similar. And then of course I love me a peach, so this is the Makeup Geek I'm Peachless. I can't remember, I think these came in the same collection, but this is I'm Peachless, and I know that she's kind of redesigning, so I don't know if these are sticking around or they may be on sale or have a different name, but I did want to mention them. Even if you have any of these in your collection and are using them as eyeshadows, you may want to consider using them on your face, but this one is definitely the most peach and probably warmest of the bunch, and these are really, really impactful because these like Makeup Geek shadows are super pigmented. So with all of these, I recommend using a less dense brush in application, at least when you're first getting used to using them, because you don't want to end up with like a big streak on your face and cursing my name. My favorite highlighter brush is this one from, this one from Morphe. It just has the perfect density, because I hate when a brush is too dense and you streak it on your face, because no matter how glowy I want to look, I don't want it to look like I have a streak on my face. Like, that's never what I'm going for. So I'll list this down below. Again, the name has rubbed off. Clearly all of these products are ones that I really love because the names are rubbed off on all of them, and I have not memorized them. So as always, everything will be linked down below, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Save yourself a few dollars or just pile up on the highlighters. I can never have enough, and be sure to just kind of keep your eyes peeled, and if you never considered that as an option, it's absolutely a great option that's travel friendly, it's more affordable in price, and if you want to have a big selection of different undertones of highlighters or finishes, this could also be a great way to grow your collection without having to spend a bunch of extra dollars. So thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at SamanthaJaneYT, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!